Okay, we know what the monsoon does to your trees, and we know what the monsoon does sometimes to various outdoor parts of your home. But what does it do to your car? Well, as a matter of fact, if your brakes were working that successfully, then you're lucky. You stayed out of the monsoon. But James Garnand is here from Narpro to talk about the dangers of the monsoon, even if we're not standing in the middle of it, right?
Definitely. Well, driving through the dust is, they tell you pull over to the side, turn off your lights, everything else. But if you do have to drive through it, all of your filters in your car are having to breathe through that dust.
The filters?
Yes. You have an air filter, a cabin air filter. Things like that should be checked if you've been through a significant storm. Driving through the water, we have this stupid motorist law, so you should not drive through standing water, but people feel they have to go somewhere. So if the water is above halfway up your wheel, you probably shouldn't take your car into that creek or whatever, wait, or go around.
What a great standard, at least we know, because I, last week, was faced with some water running across a major street here. And I thought, well, that doesn't look like it's too deep, but wait a minute, how deep is too deep?
Well, halfway up your wheel is the rule, but how do you find out unless you go into it? Watch the person in front of you and see how deep it is on their vehicle, and that'll be a good call as far as how you should approach that water.
Now, Narpro never asks my advice for anything, but they allowed me to operate this mechanism here. And what is it that it's doing? All I know is I'm pressing the button.
This is a display that shows how the brake caliper works. You're using air to function it. In the car, it uses brake fluid.
Yeah.
And when you apply the brake, the hydraulic pressure slides the caliper and presses the pads against your rotor.
Unless there's been a monsoon.
And then you have water in between that, and it may not work quite as well. After you've been through the water, apply your brakes a few times to make sure that they're working well. You don't want to have something locked up and find out when you need the brakes the most. Brake pads, as they start to wear, a brake pad brand new has a significant amount of friction material.
Let's take a look at that. Okay.
And then as they wear, they get much thinner. A thinner brake pad has a more difficult time stopping, and if you get metal against metal, then you're going to end up with a more expensive brake job.
And they can get this thin?
Absolutely. I've seen some with no brake pad left on it. People went metal to metal.
And which means no brakes.
With no brakes and a whole lot of noise.
Wow. Okay, so how often should you get your brakes checked?
Well, I would check your brakes at least once a year, and this month is Brake Safety Awareness Month.
I'm glad you mentioned that.
We have free brake inspections at the Narpro facilities. And if you happen to need brake pads, the brake pads are free as well.
Yeah, would you mind reviewing the free part for everybody? Because you just got their attention and they want to make notes what they get for free.
Okay, free brake inspection. So we're going to check your brake system. We're going to take the tires off. We're going to actually measure the brakes and see how much thickness is left.
At any Narpro?
Any of the Narpro facilities participating in this, you can get the free brake inspection.
Right.
And there are participating facilities that you can get free brake pads as well. So if your pads look like this, we can put those on for you, and we just charge the labor. Our vendors are supplying the brake pads for us.
That's a savings of about how much?
Well, on a typical vehicle, it could be $70 to $125.
Wow. Okay. So how do we find Narpro places?
You can go to narpro.com.
I'm glad you made it simple for guys like me, right? And they are all over the valley?
Yes. Got 22 shops, I believe, at this time.
Why would I come in normally, even if I haven't gone through one of the great big huge dust clouds?
Well, Narpro has a test that we go through the facilities and check and make sure that they meet the standard, and Narpro backs the work. So should you happen to have a problem in a Narpro facility, you know that Narpro can come in and fix it for you.
Yeah, but you check everything? You check the computers and the electrical systems and everything?
Well, we check and make sure that they're equipped to work on cars. We make sure that their bathrooms are clean. We make sure they have a nice waiting room. We make sure their customer satisfaction is nice and high. We'd like to see 98% or better, but I think 95 is what you have to be at.
And I guess probably if we are checking out Narpro, the best thing to do is to look for a Narpro symbol, and I'm assuming that something like this is on the window or the door.
Correct.
So, all right, let's just quickly review, less than a minute now. Monsoon happens sometime this week. You can almost bet on it. What should I avoid if I have to drive through a monsoon?
Well, if you get in one of those haboob dust storms where you can't see, pull off to the side of the road, turn off your lights and wait it out. They don't last very long.
But if I have to drive, if my wife is pregnant, I'm going to the hospital.
Okay, go nice and slow, leave your lights on, try and make sure that you can follow the vehicle behind you with a safe distance. And if you have to go through water, try and make sure that it's not above halfway up your wheel.
Yeah, don't be one of those stupid motorists, okay? But I know you aren't. You're one of the smart people watching the morning scramble.